This is a rabbit trap, and like modern foothold traps, you can easily transport it, set it anywhere you want, and it's hidden completely underground. So in this video, I'm not going to try and replicate the function of this trap, but I'm going to try and replicate the practicality of it in a more primitive form by using some sticks and some string. So this is what I come up with. It's essentially 4 straight sticks lashed together, with one of the sticks lashed in such a way that it can be twisted around. And the trigger for the trap is fashioned from a fork of the same tree. So I'll demonstrate the function of the trap. The trigger goes underneath the cross stick, and the spring stick is turned around and lashed underneath one side of the fork. So any pressure on that trigger stick releases the spring and allows that arm to fly upwards. So now all that needs to be done is to thread a snare up through a loop on the end of the spring arm and tie it off to the cross stick, leaving a long loose end. So now that the trap is complete, set it just like before, but now there's a snare that will rest on top of the ground and be carried up by that spring arm around the leg. So you can see the importance of threading it up through a loop in the arm. It's so you can take 2 times as much cord up and close the trap faster. Now unfortunately there's no active rabbit warrens about for me to test this out on a rabbit, but I can at least try and test the concept out on a bird. So what I've done is built a much lighter weight version with a light spring, light arm and light fishing line. Now the original intention was to try and get a sparrow to come and perch on that trigger stick, but a currawong kept coming along and trying to pinch my fishing line, so what I had to do was mount it underground as if I was setting it for a rabbit. Anyway, as it turned out, before I even got the camera or even baited the trap, a magpie had got himself stuck in it. He would have been attracted to the overturned dirt looking for grubs, so I had to let him go and reset the trap, spread some seed about it and set a motion sensitive camera up over it. So it was a pigeon that was first to come and take the bait. He's a native and was released. So the next unwilling victim was a galah. Which is another native. It proved a little bit more difficult to release. So I had to cut the line, but above the knot so it wouldn't stay attached. So the problem with that trap design is it relies on the inherent elasticity of the cord you're using. But what if you only have natural cordage available? So here I've tried a different design. In this case it's the limbs of the fork being pulled in that stores the potential energy rather than the cord itself. And the trigger again is cut from a fork of the same tree, leaving a couple notches to fit over the base and over the spring arm. So like before, pressure on that trigger releases that arm, which will carry a snare up. So while I prefer this spring design, it is a little bit harder to bed firmly. The hole should be kept tight in around the sides of the trigger, but quite loose at the back, where the limbs have to move outwards as well as the spring moving upwards. And either a piece of paper or a leaf is used to cover the trigger before the final coat of dirt. To finish it off, the snare is laid out and just given a light dusting of dirt. And if you remember that log loose end we left, that's what's tied off or pegged down. So the animal walks along, foot goes on the trigger, snare goes around the leg. So for anything bigger than a rabbit, you'd probably want to use steel cable, although I have held cats in that same cord that's used here. Anyway, I hope that's given you a few ideas. If I do find a likely spot to try and catch a rabbit, I'll set this trap, but that'll be the subject for another video.